Hey guys, I know I haven't been on in a while, but there's not a lot of pet holidays in October, and there's even fewer in November. There are 2 videos I'm going to do in November. I'm here because today is Pitbull Awareness Day, and I actually know people who are on either side. I know people who absolutely adore Pitbulls and similar bully breeds, and I know people who are terrified of them. So it goes both ways. I personally love every breed of dog. Dogs are dogs the same way people are people. Not going to say I don't like this group because they look different. Because what's the point of living in a place where everybody's treated differently because they look different, right? Hello. So I want to talk a little bit about breed-specific legislation. Now, for those who don't know what that is, it's fairly self-explanatory. It's when laws are passed making decisions on certain breeds and discriminating against certain breeds of dogs. And here in Ontario, we actually have a pit bull ban where you are technically not allowed to own a dog of a bully breed, or even one that can be confused to look like a bully breed, since 2005. Now, the term pit bull refers to pit bull terriers, Staffordshire Bull Terriers, American Staffordshire Bull Terriers, American Pit Bull Terrier, or again, any dog that looks like any of the previous breeds. So even if it's a mix, and there's part Shepherd or part Lab, but your dog looks like a bully breed, you are considered under that. Unless you owned the dog before the ban came out, technically you're not allowed to own the dog. Which seems a little ridiculous, and I know it was put in place because a pit bull mauled a child. But there has to be some point where the owners have to start taking responsibility for their dogs. And I know that pit bulls are more commonly trained for fighting and fighting other dogs, but a lot of them aren't. And discriminating because one group has been known to be trained for dog fighting doesn't mean that all pit bulls are like that. But I read up on the law a little bit before I did this video because I wanted you to know how vague the law is about how you can make an allegation. Because if anyone makes an allegation about your dog biting or attacking a person or animal, if they're a menace, meaning somebody walks by the fence and they snarl and jump at the fence, that's a menace. Or the person did not exercise reasonable precaution, meaning keeping the dog in the yard at all times, making sure they're chained, that kind of thing. But I've seen Shepherds and Rotties and all of these other breeds do the exact same thing. I've seen Yorkies do that when they jump at the fence when people walk by. So I don't see the point in breed-specific legislation because all dogs do that, and ultimately their behavior depends on their owner and their raising. So that's my personal opinion, but how has the law affect the number of dog bites? First of all, the number of bites has not decreased. It's not even stayed the same. It's actually gone up. So what does that tell you? There are 60% less pit bull breeds in Ontario, but the number of bites has gone up. So realistically, when you get rid of the worst offending group, and I say this with brackets because they're not the worst offending group, that it doesn't actually change anything. So why is the ban still present? Anyway, that's my rant on breed-specific legislation, but I just don't see why we can't just teach the dogs better. Or even if you want to still discriminate against bully breeds, have the owners pass a class or do the good citizenship dog thing that they do with therapy dogs and service dogs. If you're really that concerned, but don't ban them entirely. That's not going to solve anything. That actually makes the people who want to own pit bulls now have to go to shadier places to get them, first of all, which means they're probably from either a puppy mill or rescued from a fighting ring. And if the bans weren't there, people could breed them normally, and we wouldn't have to go through all of the secrecy and the stress to get a breed like that. But overbreeding is a whole nother conversation. For those of you who didn't know about the Pitbull ban, they rescued a bunch of dogs in Chatham, and I think I've talked about this a few times. There was 21 dogs rescued, and the government wanted to just put them down. That was it. They said they're from a fighting ring, they're going to be aggressive, just put them all down, and that was it. But a lot of the rescue organizations stepped up and had petitions signed, and they managed to rescue quite a few of them, and they're working on rehabilitating them to rehome them. Now, any person who wants to adopt one of those dogs should be an experienced owner with more, not aggressive breeds, but stronger ones, like German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Bernese Mountain Dogs, all the bigger dogs, because you are responsible for that animal. So if that animal does something, then you don't really get punished. Because if that dog bites someone and that person reports it, then the dog gets put down. So when you're taking responsibility for an animal, you need to make sure that you have the experience necessary to own a dog that is known to be dangerous. Even though pit bulls are not dangerous, we've trained properly, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That ends my Saturday rant. Halloween is coming up. I put some safety tips to a post on Tuesday, but do think about keeping your pet safe and inside and away from chocolate, candy, making sure they have their reflective gear on, because you don't want to be the one looking for your pet when a bunch of kids are running around in costumes. It's really not fun. November is actually Pet Cancer Month, and I just watched the 5-part series, The Truth About Pet Cancer, which Dr. Karen Becker, Rodney Habib, and a third gentleman made a documentary together, combining 2 of theirs, and talked to experts all over the world about pet cancer. And I'm going to talk about that, I think, on the 7th of November, because I have a blank post that day. So I figured I might as well get my live video in. Something else to look forward to. I'm also doing one on pet diabetes, so keep an eye out for those super fun videos. Otherwise, enjoy your Halloween, and I will see you in November. Bye.